Mr. James Sykes. How are we, sir?
Doing great, Matt. How are you?
All good, all good. I'm kind of getting geared up for going to Toronto at the end of the month for PDAC. That's exciting.
Have you packed your parka?
I have packed my Parker, I've packed my ski gear. Quite frankly, is what I've done, and I've also booked one of those planes that lands the right way up.
But ding. Yeah, it was a scary situation. That was
lucky.
interesting one, but yes, it's
Wow. Do we know what happened? So this should be a uranium conversation, but I'm really fascinated by what happened there. With
no,
the plane.
same here. I've never seen anything like that. All I saw was that they didn't land properly. They kind of landed on the side, and that just flipped the whole thing. But the snow and the wind, and if their runway was anything like the roads here in Saskatoon, you've got bumps everywhere.
Right. Okay, well, I will see you hopefully in Toronto land soon enough. But we're going to talk a little bit about uranium space at the moment because I think a lot of people are kind of slightly, I guess, nervous, perplexed, confused about what's happening out there. Is people have gone off of uranium, it feels. What's happening?
I think there's two camps. I honestly think there are two camps in the retail space. I think there's the guys, the long-term investor. The guys who know the space, who were either in it back in the 2006 run, understand what's behind it, or the guys who did all their research during the Fukushima doldrums and realized that nuclear power has to come back, and they see all the news coming out about nuclear power and countries building out their nuclear fleets. They follow Cameco and they see Cameco being very bullish on the space as well. So I think there's that side, but I think they're the minority and vast minority. And then you've got the other retail side that are just into it because of what they've heard about the last run. You've had companies go from pennies to dollars, millionaires made within weeks. And I think they're looking for that type of return as well. And when you don't see that, with today's investor attitude, if you don't see that in a week or a month, then you bail. But that's my taking of it. Everyone seems to be watching spot price, which is not the right thing to watch, but spot's down, but everything else is up. Sentiment is up, SWU is up. Just, yeah, that's my interpretation of it.
Everything's up but the mood, it seems like, and I kind of a little bit of me kind of thinks, are we sort of suffering from a little bit of the boy who cried wolf? Over the past few years, everything was a catalyst moment, everything was going to change our fortunes, and maybe people got a little bit tired of that constant harping.
Yeah, I think that's also another factor as well. When spot hit above $100, everybody was into it. All uranium companies were rising with the tide, and then as soon as spot dropped below 100, it was just mass exodus. Everyone fled, and the market hasn't recovered.
It has not recovered. Anyway, we're going to bring the mood down. So, brother, we don't want to do that. I think I agree with you. I'm in the camp of, I think that the price is right at the moment when it comes to the equities. Price may not be right when it comes to spot price, if that's what you want to look at. But more importantly, I think it's also right in terms of the kind of behavior of the industry as a whole, certainly around enrichment, and certainly around the kind of bipartisan support with various governments around the world. So it's all good. The question is, how does Baselode position itself in an environment like this? Whichever side you take, what are you doing?
Oh, we've weathered the storm. We've been fortunate enough to have a strong cash position to weather this storm. That we didn't need to go into drilling immediately after our summer program. We've been able to assess the market and assess where we can better spend our dollars, and that has allowed us to really take the foot off the throttle for a minute and focus on what can bring value back to the company. Apparently, the market has never fully reacted well to ACKIO. Even when we're pumping out our best results in 2022, when we started finding near surface mineralization, the market was trading us down. So it was kind of confusing, and it's been downward ever since. So if the retail or investors aren't interested in ACKIO, then that means we have to find something new. So we've got the money, we've got the targets, and that will be our focus for the summer, is following up on some new targets and trying to make a new discovery. But before, I point out the market sentiment, and I'll use Canalaska as their example. I'm a shareholder in Canalaska, and long term, they put out news a couple weeks ago, best drill hole results to date. Absolutely phenomenal news. Great results. They were trading up on the day, but by the end of the week, they're trading down. How can anybody compete against this market with your best results if the market's just going to keep trading you down? I think it's a very tough place to be in right now.
It is, and I can't comment on or even second guess what's going on there. Maybe people trying to take some money off the table, or maybe they're hurting elsewhere and need to kind of cash in. I don't know, but you're right. It's kind of depressing as a CEO when you kind of put out good information and the market either doesn't care or marks you down or sells you off for sure. But got to come back to the ACKIO statement. If you think the market is not valuing ACKIO, you said, well, maybe we need to go find another project. But you've got to get that balance train, this kind of drill to kill attitude. Say, if not going to be rewarded, let's move on, and sticking at something and seeing it through, because you obviously think it's good, don't you?
I love ACKIO. I honestly think that ACKIO is one of the next uranium mines in the Athabasca Basin. It's too simplistic not to be.
So why look elsewhere then?
Because the market hasn't been recognizing us for it. A couple of reasons. After this summer, and we're still waiting on the results, but based on what we've seen preliminary-wise and based on the radioactivity results that we have released, we do believe that we've completed drilling on ACKIO. There might be some targets at depth, or maybe even on strike. On strike is a little bit more difficult, but there might be some targets at depth. However, again, we need the results for that to fully define that. But as it stands right now, I think drilling on ACKIO it won't benefit the company, but we would also be infilling where we've already drilled. We think that we've drilled sufficient density on ACKIO to produce an indicated mineral resource at the very least, and that's basically where we stand. The big steps for ACKIO then, because we do believe that it would be an economically viable deposit, are to start going beyond the mineral resource stage and start looking at the economics of it, the PEA stage and so forth. We have been doing that internally. We've, bit by bit, we've been looking at ways to improve our understanding of ACKIO, such as the mineralogy, such as leachability, and everything just keeps coming out on top. It meets all the preferred criteria to be milled. So while we explore for something else, hopefully adding pounds to an area and trying to achieve a hub and spoke model where ACKIO would be the hub and the targets that we have for exploration on the project, which are only about 5 or 6 kilometers away from ACKIO, would be the spokes. We think that if we can define more pounds and more tonnage within the area, that we can build this into a jurisdiction instead of just a one-off play. And as soon as we start seeing a jurisdiction being built around ACKIO, that's when economics really start to favor not just ACKIO but everything else.
Right. So this is the thing that's perplexing me. You think it's a really good asset. You've done some good stuff. You want to do more. I mean, is there anything wrong with this? I mean, are there geological risks associated with this that makes you so you're not keen to rush off and find the next big thing, but why not come and why not stay, work on it, and tell the story better?
We've told the story many times, and we do continue to tell the story. I guess one of our last wasn't news release, but one of our last publications, we demonstrated that ACKIO would fit within historic mining criteria. Open pit mines have been the predominant mining method within the Athabasca Basin. Most of the mines in the Athabasca are all open pits, even as recent as the 2000s. They have been deeper than ACKIO, and grades from what we've seen if you put all of our news releases together and come up with an average grade, you get about 0.3%. Weighted average. So we see that our grade is very comparable to what was also mined open pit in the Athabasca throughout the last 40 odd years. Very comparable to everything. Close to infrastructure, that really works. The rock types, the rock types work. From what we've seen, and that's one of our next videos that we want to put out, is just demonstrating that, here's your open pit. You've got, and mineralization is where my fingers are basically, but you've got the softest and most broken up rock above all of that. So it adds to, and it makes an open pit being easier because you have less blasting, so forth. And all of the rocks underneath that are all very competent. So you've got that nice buttress and very prominent, naturally forming geologically influenced structures and rock types that would be amenable for an open pit style of mining method. Again, everything just seems to work for this, that we believe we can move it forward. Well, and this leads to some of our conversations that we are having. We're trying to find strategics to help move this project forward. We do believe that everything works for it to be millable. If when you employ ore sorting technology on the project, you can upgrade the mineralization to the head grade at Key Lake Mill. So that's a very important fact, or a very important feature that we need to properly and fully demonstrate a little bit further. And that's been a study that has been planned for later on this year or into next year. But if we can demonstrate that this can be mined, this can be milled, all economically, I don't see why this wouldn't go forward. If the mill has capacity, we do believe that we could provide material to fill that capacity with a toll milling fee. But again, those are conversations that hopefully we can fully realize within the months or years to come.
Okay, and what's the condition of that mill at the moment? Is it operational?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep, Key Lake Mill
Right.
is operational. I think they're operating at between 60 to 80% capacity right now.
Okay, what would that?
MacArthur River does have a 17-year mine life, and that, but is that a full capacity? I don't think it is. I think there's a lot of capacity that is still unused at the Key Lake Mill, and I don't see it hitting the 100% capacity in the near term.
Right, and what obviously, I'm looking at your market cap, I'm looking at share price, and we talked about the market conditions as well, and we've seen lots of companies having to adjust their business model to, I guess, stay relevant, kind of stay in the game, as it were. This kind of mining, processing, milling strategy, would you see that as an interim thing? Because obviously it'll be capital light, that's the good news, and get revenues flowing, but over what sort of time frame, and what could that mean in terms of the rest of the projects in the portfolio? Is that just a case of we're going to try and create some revenue here to be able to kind of fund the exploration activity elsewhere, again, just till we can make that kind of big discovery, or does that fund the development, the drilling of ACKIO to try and work out the extent of what you've got there?
The reality of the situation is that, I'm using historic examples for this, but open pit mines within the Athabasca have gone from discovery into production within the 6 to 12 year time frame. The permitting process is a little bit expanded upon nowadays than it was 20 or 40 years ago. So there is that time frame that there is a time period of time that we wouldn't be able to obviously move ACKIO forward, because we'd have to do all the studies and go through all the permitting. So let's say it's a 5-year time frame, just throwing a number out there. Within that time, obviously we wouldn't be generating any revenue. We do believe that ACKIO, yes, would generate revenue very quickly. We think it would have a very positive NPV, very return on capital and operational costs, that we could generate the revenue. But by the time we're generating revenue from mining it, exploration, we would have to already have advanced exploration on our other projects, simply because the amount of work that would be required on them, or the amount of work that we've already put on some of those projects, wouldn't be sufficient enough to keep them in good standing while ACKIO is not in production. So just maybe I'll emphasize that a little bit more. Our Hook project we've put sufficient capital on it to keep the entire project in good standing for 25 years. So theoretically, we don't have to go back to ACKIO or the other target areas on hook for 25 odd years, and that will stay within Baselode's portfolio for that entire duration, unless something happens to us. Our Bear project is very similar, where we've got the project is in good standing for at least 10 years, so we don't have to go back to that project as well. So Catharsis is the only one that would need some expenditures. However, the main area that we really like on Catharsis is in good standing for 5 to 7 years. And once we apply the rest of the funds on it, that from drilling that we've completed this year, then we can keep that in good standing for longer as well. So our projects are in good standing to weather advancing on ACKIO. However, just trying to advance ACKIO on its own, I don't think would have that constant news flow that would want to keep pumping out for investors, for our shareholders. So we basically would have to do both. But again, we're in that comfortable position where we're not being forced into exploration for the sake of exploring. We would be exploring for that new discovery. And that's where we think that we can really turn this company around. Another discovery under our belt, I think, would do absolute wonders for us.
And do you think discoveries are being rewarded out there at the moment?
I think they are. It has to be the right discovery. I've noticed with ACKIO that it doesn't matter what kind of grade you have, people just want to see high grade. They think high grade is the be-all and end-all of uranium in the Athabasca. And if you're not pumping out 5%, 20% material, they think it's garbage. I see that as completely hocus pocus, because it's, even when you take today's uranium prices and today's gold prices, something with 0.3% still carries about $550 per ton value in the rock. That's quite a lot. You're looking at about 5 gram per ton, 8 gram per ton gold equivalency, which is, again, very valuable rock. But 0.3% is obviously, you've got far more uranium within 1 ton of rock than 5 grams. You're comparing 3,000 grams versus 5 grams. A big difference when it comes to milling and being able to extract the material that reduces all of your costs across the board. So yeah, there's a lot of value in the rock. There's no doubt about that.
So, but you got to find it, right? So let's talk about the value of making a discovery versus the kind of conversations that you're indicating that you're having, and maybe working with some partners on whatever basis. Do you still describe yourself as an explorer, or is there a danger that you kind of maybe drop down into the kind of project generator category? And I say that because I think exploration does tend to get rewarded if you make discoveries. Project generators is a much longer return profile generally in the market, certainly what we've seen. How do you view yourself?
Still an explorer, 100%. We're really not a project generator. Again, with all of our projects in good standing, we don't need to work them. We can hold on to them. For a project like Hook, that is a project that we would keep 100% within Baselode. If we do find the right strategic who can really help us move ACKIO along, then that's where we would consider JVing or even selling the company, or selling the project to that company, to that strategic. Bear is something that we could be willing to JV, to offload and have somebody work it, because we do think that exploration potential for discovery is there as well. And that's the same with Catharsis, to be honest. Catharsis is such a large project, but there are multiple commodities that could potentially be viable on it, like graphite, rare earths, and because it's so large, we can actually split that up into 4 discrete projects, with Baselode retaining the one that we think is most prospective for uranium, and pivot out the other ones, which would be prospective for graphite, rare earths, uranium. And that is something that we have been considering. We haven't fully put it together yet, just simply because we still have, we can't make it happen yet because we still have some assessment reports that are holding everything up. They have to be approved, and once those are approved, then we can chop everything up to the way that we want, and then pitch those side projects out. But the bulk of what we are looking for other projects. We, again, with 10 million in our capital and 5 million towards exploration, we do want to make a discovery on Hook. That's where the bulk of our capital wants to go, but we also want to be cognizant of other projects that could be amenable and fit within Baselode's portfolio.
Well, let's talk about that, James, because I think with your kind of cash balance that you've got, you're in a lucky position. You're in a luckier position than a lot of other uranium juniors, perhaps. Have an okay portfolio, maybe one's kind of standout project, but they've got no cash. It kind of feels like an environment where there's a lot of M&A is going to happen in 2025. It's going to have to, because some of these companies just are, the cost of capital that they've been raising has been expensive, and I know you know a bit about that. But here we are, and something's got to give. So do you think do you agree we're going to see a lot more M&A in the junior space? And do those kind of combined in large portfolios of assets, are they worth more, or is it more just liability? How do you view it?
I think there will be more M&A. Again, yes, with a lot of companies as distressed as they are, it's wide open doors for that to happen. Are some of these projects undervalued? Are they liabilities? Some of them are, but I think some of the projects that are liabilities to companies, they will just simply let them lapse, and that would be the right move for a lot of companies. Is you've got all this ground, you can't work it. If you can't find a partner, the only reasonable thing left to do is to let it go. But then somebody else will probably come along and just stake it. If the uranium market doesn't turn around soon enough and there's no money flowing into uranium, then that's exactly what we'll see. We'll see a lot of ground in the Athabasca just lapse, and the companies who have been in this for a long time and who your Canalaskas, your Forums, your ISOs, Sky Harbors, Baselodes will come in and start staking up projects that have gone. However, that still needs, you get 2 years. Once you stake ground in Athabasca, you have 2 years until that would lapse. So there is that buffer time frame. The good projects, I think people will keep, and they will continue to look for projects. If it's a good project and they don't have any capital on it, then again, then they're at risk of lapsing. But that's the type of thing that we are looking for. We're looking for distressed assets, distressed companies, things that we see having valuable assets that coincide with Baselode's strategy and our thinking. So that's basically what we're looking for. With the capital to deploy, we think this would be the year. This would be the right time to do so.
Okay, so what you're saying is we got some capital. We're not going to dilute anyone anytime soon, and we've got a chance of making this new discovery. So sit back and come along for the ride. But at the same time, if we kind of there'll be part of the audience, and what I'm looking from you is words of encouragement to say, look, hold fast, stick with us. There's something, give us a chance to actually do something with this money, because the choices are: go invest in the tech space. Bitcoin's been on a run, gold's been on a run, silver's been on a run, copper looks like it's starting to do something. Even if you want to stay in the natural resources space, but there's so much choice outside of the natural resources space where investors can place their capital. Why stick with uranium? Why stick with Baselode?
Because I think we've got the ultimate chance for success. We've got the capital to make success happen, and I think we've got the right people behind it to make it happen. And I think that's all it takes is one drill hole will change the entire fate of this company. I do believe that the 2 targets that we are looking at on Hook would be the targets that would deliver those results that can get people interested in it. We can't compete. Uranium, right now, uranium can't compete against the overall market, but it's a wait and see. It's a game of patience right now. We all, when I say we, the people who are in this industry who are bullish on uranium, all know that the uranium spot price is it's a momentary blip in a longer run of higher prices, of better performing uranium spot price, it will return. The demand out there continues to grow, and the supply somehow seemingly continues to diminish. Global projects are finding it harder to come online, which is really diminishing the supply side outlook. Funny enough, I actually found a presentation from 2006, and they had all these Athabasca projects that they're projected to come online by 2020. How many of them have come online? Zero. Zero have come online. But that was obviously part of Fukushima. But between Fukushima and now, there have been some new discoveries that are coming online and have changed not only the scope of the Athabasca, but projects globally that are coming online that have changed supply outlooks. But again, it's a game of patience. Baselode, however, being one of those companies with cash position and right assets, I think we can deliver, and I think we can really pump something out that would encourage investment back into our company. But we can't do that until we start drilling again, and that's looking like May, June. So we're not too far away. We're only 3 or 4 months away. We still have assays to come out from the summer drill program, which are half a year behind schedule, unfortunately. The lab is so backed up, and I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. It's no matter how many times we've been on them, just we are not getting results back quick enough. The last I heard from them at the end of last week was that we should have all of our results back in 2 to 3 weeks. So there is that catalyst to, once we get those results back, that would be the next immediate catalyst to hopefully get some investors looking back into Baselode. And then we can pitch out our 2025 plans so that we'll have a full knowledge of what we've just drilled, where we want to go, how we want to progress about it, and just keep the ball rolling right after that.
James, I have patience. I shall sit back and wait to see what you do. In 2025, as I say, the drill will talk on your behalf at that point. Appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.